I'll say this. I was a big fan of how the first round turned around.
You know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you had a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance man.
Congratulations, brother. Hey, yeah.
And here we go. Okay. All right. So I know it's late. I know it's very late, actually. But I wanted to go ahead and take my time when it came to this because when the draft originally came out, I was so ecstatic about just how well the New York Jets did that you couldn't tell me anything. Like to me, it was an A plus 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 plus, right? After that first round that we had, it was just man. Even though I was not one of the must draft a wide receiver in the first round individuals, I think with the depth at the wide receiver this year, we could have taken a chance and just gone into the second round. I was really big on Pickens. I was really big on Alec Pierce. Um, and I was definitely big on Watson. Had a moment there. I was big on Watson. So those were my three receivers for us to chase in the second round because I felt we had more important needs. My ideal first two rounds for the draft, and I had tweeted this out the day of the draft. I wanted Sauce Gardner at 4, Jermaine Johnson at 10. I wanted us to trade back into the first for Dean or potentially Linderbaum. Now I didn't know anything about Dean's injury. I really high on his tape. The guy was a freaking he could move sideline to sideline. He could cover. I know there were some questions about his size, but I really love Dean, and I still do. I think he's going to be a freaking stud at the NFL level. But that's neither here nor there. So I was hoping we traded back into him. So in my predictions and in my ideal situation, we did have 3 first round picks. Now in the second round, I had us going either for Pickens or Watson. I think Alec Pierce was way too high of a pick for us to take a chance on Pierce with the school and whatnot, the level of competition. It made me a little uneasy. But in terms of Watson, who showed elite size and elite speed, you can't teach size and you can't teach speed, and he had those in abundance. So I was really high on that. But Pickens or Watson was my pick for number 2, and I say that and for round 2, and I say that because I'm a big believer that Elijah Moore is easily wide receiver 1, even with the acquisition of Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore is the number 1 on our team. He's wide receiver 1. And that's why I didn't feel it was as pertinent as in need as some other individuals felt like we had to spend the first round pick on a wide receiver. I felt with Elijah Moore coming into his own, who was on track to be a top 10 wide receiver last year before the injuries. You had Corey Davis, who was on track for 1,000 yards before the injuries, and Braxton Berrios, who came out like out of nowhere, right? And I do believe that we do have some depth pieces. Um, and I'm not ready to quit on Denzel Mims yet, man. Not saying I expect him to go ahead and beat out Corey Davis like some individuals are thinking, but I think he's a real solid number 4, number 5 wide receiver to have on the roster. Again, that you can't teach size and speed, and he has it in abundance. And hopefully, with another offseason in this offense underneath him, he can go ahead and kind of like fix some of the issues we saw on the field last year. But I digress. So that was just me breaking down what my ideal first round was, and the New York Jets, I think, crushed it out of the park. Um, and I'm gonna give grades for each individual player, and then I'm gonna go ahead and give my overall grade of what I think of what the Jets did. So with pick number 4, the New York Jets select Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback. So I wasn't really big on us going after him early on, but then you start watching the tape and you see this kid's size. And I got to go back to the thought process of you can't teach speed and you can't teach size. And an impressive college career where he didn't allow no touchdowns. And you start to fall in love with Ahmad Sauce Gardner. You start seeing what this kid is capable of. And then the good old days of having Darrell Revis and Antonio Cromartie on the roster, and seeing what those two guys could do in the back, to cover any wide receiver at any given time. Like, man, we had elite defenses when we had great cornerback play. So you watch the tape and you can't help but like, just love this guy. So I shifted gears. Realizing that there was no way Sauce was going to be there at 10, and that my number 2 defensive end most likely would be there at 10. And I ran with it. I was like, all right, boom, I'm on Sauce Gardner number 4. Makes the most sense. You go ahead and you secure the backside of that defense. and then we can go ahead and get our defensive end at pick number 10, which at that point I thought would be Jermaine Johnson, and I was also a fan of George Karlaftis. But I'm out toss Gardner, definitely an A. This was definitely I would say an A plus. And I say an A plus because now we're talking about a guy that he might not have it all put together by year 1, but by year 2, year 3 in this scheme, like he's custom fit for this scheme. Like it's kismet. It's almost too kismet how the entire draft rolled out. So I give the Ahmad Sauce Gardner grade an A plus. Although I would have given it originally an A, even though I was excited about it. It was only because I was kind of concerned about would we get an edge rusher or not in the first round. With the second pick, round 1, pick number 10, the New York Jets select Garrett Wilson. Wow. Okay. That threw me for a loop. And I think it threw a lot of Jets fans for a loop because I think we all believed after we went for Sauce that we had to go defensive end. And there was still Jermaine Johnson on the board, George Karlaftis on the board, 2 guys who were projected to be top 10 individual players that were going to come off the board based off of their skill sets. And they both were there for us to pick. And we could have had either or. And I remember hearing them say Garrett Wilson, and I was just like, wait, what? After watching the tape more and more and more of Garrett Wilson, I do love the kid. I think the kid's going to be a hell of a wide receiver, too, on our roster. I don't believe he oversees freaking Elijah Moore as number 1. So I am excited that we have him, and you can never have too much depth at that position. We saw what the injuries looked like last year, and this is a pick that ultimately helps out Zach Wilson. So I understood and I grasped and I jumped on board with the decision to go with Garrett Wilson after the fact. You had told me that was going to be our last pick in the first round. That would have been a B. At the moment the pick was made, I was just like, wow, what are we doing? Elijah Moore is a clear wide receiver 1. Corey Davis is going to have a bounce back year. Braxton Berrios shows flashes of what he can do. He's a playmaker. And Denzel Mims, a year under his belt, like he might, year 1, he did some things that impressed us. So I'm not ready to just give up 100% on Denzel Mims yet. And of course, on top of that, we stacked the tight end room. So I really didn't see the need for a wide receiver in round 1. But we got him. And when you go back and look at the tape, the kid's just a playmaker. He's a playmaker. His after the catch ability is freaking just ridiculous. He did run a 4.39 40, so he's not slow. He's not slow at all. He does run good routes. But I don't think that he runs them as crisp as everybody portrays. He can get sloppy sometimes coming out of some of his breaks. Being able to not break so cleanly is going to give the opportunity to the defensive back or a safety to jump on his route. And that to me is concerning. But I think that with some good coaching, he'll clean that up. And he's already got the high level IQ. But as you watch this kid talk and then you watch how his approach to the game, so professional. His basketball background does impress me. It does show that he has a level of athleticism that can go ahead and translate at the NFL on the next level. You can't really teach that kind of athleticism, and he has that in abundance. So my grade for Garrett Wilson jumped up to a B plus. Now it's not an A for me, and again, it goes back to what I stated earlier. I think that our tight end room has done a complete revamp, and that our wide receiver 1 was already in the room in Elijah Moore, and I think that you're picking a wide receiver in the top 10. This guy's supposed to be a number 1 receiver. This is somebody you believe is going to go ahead and take over the roster and be the number 1. I don't think Garrett Wilson's going to be able to do that. I think that he's going to be a great complementary piece to Elijah Moore because a lot of their similarities, but he can also, take the top off of a defense as well, giving Elijah Moore more room to use some of that lateral quickness that he has, that freaking inside of, as I keep saying, like inside of a phone booth speed to get open underneath and turn that into big plays. So it's a B plus for me. And again, Garrett Wilson is a player. Very excited. He's, again, abundance of talent, and we've got him. He's on our roster now. But in terms of position of need at the time, and even now, I still look at it as a B plus. So that's my grade on Garrett Wilson. That's pick 10. So now we're thinking we're done. We're thinking that we won't be hearing the Jets name pop up again into the second round. And I won't lie to you, at that time, I really thought we had lost a chance on the guy like Jermaine Johnson or George Karlaftis. So I'm thinking, okay, now we're going to be going towards the second tier level of edge rushers that we can pick up. I wasn't excited about it, but I also understood that we were getting Carl Lawson back. We added some pieces in the offseason like Josh Martin that could also create some excitement on that line. couple of key pieces kind of came back. So I looked at it, again, as a Jets fan, we got to look at the optimistic aspect of it. And I thought, okay, we're good. The defensive line can get some young blood in there in the second round, somebody who's a little bit more raw, but they show potential, and we can make that work. Again, with Carl Lawson coming back, I felt like I talked myself into it. All right, it is what it is. No Jermaine Johnson, no George Karlaftis. That's cool. But then we saw Jermaine start dropping. And that was not something I think anybody expected for him to drop all the way down into the 20s. But as we all saw recently on Fight 2022, the moment he dropped past 15, our boy Joe was on the phone just making phone calls, trying to pick him up as soon as possible. But somehow, some way, we get to pick 26 in the first round, and Jermaine Johnson is not only available, but the Jets have now traded up to pick up my pick 10 player. And I have reaction to that pick all over my profiles, Instagram, Twitter, freaking YouTube. I was so excited. That was my favorite pick of the draft. Jermaine freaking Johnson, defensive end, Florida State, is a New York Jet. And I think what made it even better was how enthusiastic he was to be coming to New York. Like, it's good. It feels great when you see a player and they look excited. They look excited to go ahead and play for an organization. He was pumped. And then we just saw recently on Fight 2022 the reaction of everybody in that war room, in that draft room, how excited they were to bring this guy into the house. And it was obvious they loved him from the start. And it wasn't until, of course, Fight 2022 we realized he was definitely favored for the number 10 pick. They didn't think they were going to have a chance at receiver with Garrett Wilson and or Drake London. So he was supposed to be the pick at number 10. But when Garrett Wilson was there, it was a no-brainer for them, and they made that pick. But to me, that solidified the entire draft. I really didn't care what happened after that, because in round 1, we got a defensive back that I think has all-pro potential. We got a wide receiver that's going to make a couple of Pro Bowls in his career. Guarantee that. Then we got Jermaine Johnson, who was my number 2 guy. My number 2 defensive end after Aiden Hutchinson. It went Aiden Hutchinson for me, Jermaine Johnson, Thibodeau, and then I was a fan of Karlaftis. And to have Jermaine Johnson drop all the way down to 26, it started to, and then we got him. We were able to get him. After Joe tried. It wasn't until the 26th pick that a guy that was, I think, unanimously considered a top 10 pick across the board fell to us at 26. And you got to start feeling a little bit like, man, this is kismet. Like some things are just meant to be, and this could be one of those things. And I don't know. I just started feeling like, you know what, this could be the turning of the tide for the New York Jets. That pick for me solidified the entire draft. Jermaine Johnson is fast. He's long. The guy's he can play the run. He's got instinct. Some people are going to say, oh, he left freaking Georgia because he wasn't getting it up. Well, he left Georgia because he wasn't a scrub at Georgia, just for the record. Like, he had a pretty decent statistics at Georgia, but he was asked to do something that was different, and he did it. But he knew in order for him to go ahead and get drafted in the NFL that he had to find a way to go ahead and make himself more marketable. And he bet on himself. He left Georgia, went to Florida State, bet on himself, and was the best defensive player in the ACC when he did that. A lot of people are concerned about the one-year wonder aspect, but again, the kid's got size. He's got speed, athleticism, great character. You couple all those things together, and I'm not going to lie to you, I feel like he's a custom fit for the Jets defensive scheme. Look how excited those guys were in Fight 2022. Jermaine Johnson was an A+ for me. An A+ draft grade is what I give Jermaine Johnson. Because by far, I think he's going to probably have the most impact. Either him or this next pick we're going to talk about will have the most impact in year 1. And I say that because I can literally see Jermaine Johnson being the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's how good I think this kid is. Jermaine Johnson, pick number 26. The New York Jets are done with the first round. I predicted they would get 3 first-rounders. We got Sauce Gardner at number 4. Garrett Wilson at number 10, and then we come back in, we get Jermaine Johnson at number 26. And those are 3 foundation pieces that I think are going to go ahead and show drastically show the shift in culture. And of course, hopefully in the win column, with the New York Jets was this particular draft. And those three guys are going to be the solid piece of it. Going into round 2, I believe the New York Jets needed safety and linebacker. And Nakobe Dean was still there. I don't know about you guys, but I was climbing the walls when I saw that Nakobe Dean was still available. And I still wish we had gotten him. We trade up ahead of the Houston Texans, and we go for the number 36 pick in round 2, Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. Now, Breece Hall was definitively my number 1 running back on the board. And I think that's probably consistent across many boards. He was RB1. There wasn't any thought process in my mind that stated that he was going to be a New York Jet. I like Michael Carter, did good things last year. But Breece Hall is a different beast. And I know a lot of people that love Michael Carter right now are in the same boat as I am, as like they need to make it a running back by committee kind of situation. Have you watched Breece Hall's tape? Breece Hall is a legitimate top 20 pick in the NFL draft just 4 or 5 years ago. Hell, maybe a top 10 pick. He fell to the second round. The Jets picked this kid up. This kid is a beast. He's electric, right? You can watch the tape for yourself. I'll probably watch the tape for yourself. But Breece Hall is somebody that you want to feed the ball to, and he's going to be a safety blanket for one Zach Wilson. I say that because the ability for him to create opportunity, even behind the line of scrimmage, just like Michael Carter can, but he has a next gear that Michael Carter didn't quite exhibit last year. He's also a bigger guy, so he can take the beatings. He can catch the ball. He can run routes. Like, Breece Hall is a full, like, a every down back across the board. And we got him in round 2, pick 36. And it really set the tone for me as to realizing, like, okay, the New York Jets are going to go all in on Zach Wilson. Because we didn't need a running back. It wasn't a need on the board. Michael Carter did pretty well for himself last year. I don't think anybody would argue that this guy couldn't come in this year and be RB1, stays healthy. He's going to have, 1,000-yard season easily. But they brought in Breece Hall because now Zach Wilson has 2 options in the running back backfield that play very similarly. I just think Breece Hall has a little more speed to it, a little more explosiveness than Michael. But either way, they're going to be fun to watch. We got the best running back in the draft in round 2. Some people said that, the Jets trading up and giving up, but then the analytics will tell you like that it didn't add up in terms of blah, blah, whatever. Like the numbers crunchers didn't like it, but you give a legitimate weapon to Zach Wilson in the sense of his backfield. So now he's got the tight ends, he's got the wide receivers, and he's got the running backs. I'm not saying singular. Wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Like, he's got multiple at those positions to where at any given time they can go ahead and create a big play for him. Like, it's not all on Zach Wilson's back anymore. Like, it's an A for me. It's not an A plus. Actually, it's an A minus. It's not an A plus. It's not an A. It's an A minus, because I do believe the need at linebacker and safety was pertinent, and we had a couple of first round talents available there too. I'm going off of priority or team need, I guess. Vice best player on the board. Again, I didn't know about Nakobe Dean's injury, but even with knowing about it now, I still feel like he would have been worth a second round pick. Stash him. This is a guy who's going to go ahead and learn from freaking CJ Mosley, right? Like, this could be the guy that next year is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's going to be a star in the NFL, man. And I'm still salty that we didn't pick him up, as you can tell. But I am not mad at Breece Hall. And again, I can't be mad at the Jets organization trying everything they can to put as many weapons in the toolbox for Zach Wilson so the game comes to him a lot easier. And Breece Hall does exactly that. So then you would think, okay, cool. The Jets are going to at some point identify with linebacker or safety or something of the sort. No, they don't. Round 3 comes around, pick 101, Jeremy Ruckert, tight end, Ohio State. Tight end 2 for me out of all the tight ends. Not really a shocker that he was available at that particular spot, but it was a shocker that the Jets went for him. We just signed TJ, and we just signed Conklin. Our tight end room has never been better. Lawrence Cage is looking pretty darn good as well. Put on 40 pounds of muscle for the tight end position. So we add another legitimate tight end, like tight end 2. Some people had him as tight end 1. You know, he's athletic. He was never really used to his full potential in Ohio. I mean, again, when you have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson there, they had him in there mostly as an inline blocker, but he showed promise when he was asked to run routes and catch the ball. And he was also a really, really good blocker. At the very least, showed effort in every blocking scheme, you know what I'm saying, they put in front of him. So I understand the route to go with him as well. It was just shocking based off of the needs that we had. And this was not another luxury pick. The Jets literally just pretty much said it's a round 3 pick. This is potentially a starter on most teams. They stacked the tight end room even more so. So now you had CJ, you had Conklin, now you're adding Jeremy Ruckert to the table, and I'm like, man, the abundance of options that Zach Wilson's going to have is never ending. This is insane. This is not the same New York Jets. So for that one, I gave them a B plus because again, it wasn't a need, but it was them showing that they're going to put everything they can to throw at freaking Zach Wilson, so he has all the tools that he needs to succeed. So Jeremy Ruckert got a B plus for me. So then we get to round 4, pick number 111. The New York Jets go with Max Mitchell, offensive tackle, Louisiana. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't know who this kid was, so I did have to go back and watch some tape, kind of get an idea of who he was. And from everything that I can see, kind of a versatile piece. He was a 3-year starter at right tackle. Smart, like high IQ guy. He's not the strongest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but he's got good movement skills. I would say he's above average movement skill. Better known as a pass blocker than he is a run blocker, but again, the ability to get average there is there. You can see that in his movement skills. After we lost George Fant, so we needed another tackle in the room. He needs to get stronger, definitely needs to get stronger, but again, his movement skills are good. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna give it a B only because again it addresses a position of need, and it helps out Zach, right? Like if anybody on the offense, if one of the tackles goes down, he can kind of slide in there. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, but you know, if it did happen, we can throw the kid in and see what he's capable of doing. He was a 3-year starter, so he showed the ability to go ahead and play consistently. Whether or not he can play at the high level that he would need to from the beginning, we'd have to see. But again, you pick this guy to be a developmental tackle, somebody that can become a starter at some point, and I do think he has that ability and that potential. It all depends if he can put it all together. So I give this one a B. But Michael Clemens, aka Bane, 6'5", 265-pound monster, ran a 4.8340, and he was a 3-year starter. Now, he's old. When I say he's old, I mean like in terms of being drafted into the NFL as a rookie, he's 25, 26. I think he's 25, about to be, maybe he'll be 26 start of the season. But I know he's at least 25 years old. So he's older. He was a 3-year starter at Texas A&M. He did have some legal issues during his time in college. But again, the New York Jets did their due diligence, and they felt good about him. So they're bringing him on as a rotational edge rusher, which again just solidifies an already really devastating defensive line right now. Like our defensive line is by far the best position group we have on the roster. I wouldn't say that Michael Clemens had really elite numbers in college. And for a guy that's that big, that strong, that ferocious, you would think that he would have been able to have his way more so with a lot of individuals in college. But again, he put up good numbers. He showed the ability to go ahead and bend for a guy that big. It wasn't as bendy, I guess as some would say, on the edge, but he has some ridiculous power moves. I think if he can put it all together with some good coaching, again, he's already at 25 years old. He's a grown man in the NFL, right? Like most guys come into the NFL, they still got to grow into their bodies and kind of get that situated. Michael Clemens came into the NFL fully grown. That is a grown man. And we're going to see just how much that's a benefit to him. But again, I gotta say, I love this kid's demeanor. I love when you see him like talk and present. I love how if you watch his press conference, man, he's one that processes everything. He doesn't say anything just to say anything. He'll let you talk. He'll wait, and then he'll respond. Right? That shows a level of maturity, growth, however you want to look at it. He was picked round 4, pick number 117, and that would round out the New York Jets draft. So what do I think? How do I think they did? Well, A minus. And I say that only because I do believe we splurged a little bit in this draft with drafting Ruckert, with drafting Wilson, and with drafting Clements. I think that those are positions that we were pretty solid at come draft day. And we could have used those resources potentially to go ahead and stack talent where there was a lack of, like in the safety room or in the linebacker room. But in the same token, they see things that we don't see. There's a lot of players who didn't get to play last year because of injury that are going to be in both the linebacker room and the safety room. That could potentially shock all of us because we didn't get a chance to visually see those guys perform on the field. So I do believe that there's a good reason as to why they went the route that they did, because they probably feel very comfortable. Overall, I think the New York Jets crushed this draft. I can't remember the last time the New York Jets did such an incredible job drafting to where like it was hard to really critique any of the players they brought on. Every move they made this year was to assist Zach Wilson. You can't argue with that. If any of us believe Zach Wilson's the guy, we're going to know over the next couple of years. I'm not saying Zach Wilson has to go ahead and throw for 5,000 yards and, throw for 50 touchdowns. I'm not saying he has to do that this year. But we definitely need to see progress from last year. And I think with the tools he has now, it should be a pretty impressive step. I think the New York Jets are going to surprise a lot of people this year. And I think when we all look back over the next 5, 10, 15 years, it's going to be this draft, the 2022 draft and free agency period, that cultivated and finalized the culture shift. That's it. That's my grades on the NFL draft for the New York Jets draft this season. I'm excited for the preseason to start. I'm excited for training camp to start. I'm just ready to start seeing these guys in action and putting it all together. So until next time, it's your boy Gunny Gumby. I'm out. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, I got the giveaway still currently ongoing. I will be shipping out this helmet to one lucky winner that follows me on all platforms. And I will announce it on the day, July 26th, when the veterans kick off training camp. And I want to thank Semper Gumby Consulting for sponsoring the helmets. And I want to thank Bash Babe Events for sponsoring the display cases, sponsoring this giveaway. I'm going to go ahead and give back here to the fan base that I'm trying to interact with. The video's gone on long enough. That's it. I'm your boy Johnny Gumby. This time, I'm going to be out.